Welcome back. The City of Joburg has started a residents' anti-crime engagement called Operation Buyamteto that is run through the Joburg Metro Police Department. The chief of JMPD is David Tembe, and he also interacts with the public through Twitter at Ask the Chief JMPD, and Mr. David Tembe is here to tell us more about the operations of the Joburg Metro Police. And congratulations on your appointment. Let's start right there.
Thanks, Tim. I feel very much honored to be appointed in this position.
Big responsibilities that come with your position. Now, Joburg Metro Police, when we hear of JMPD, we associate them with only traffic laws or enforcement of traffic laws, but they are responsible for much more than that. Tell me about their responsibilities.
Yes, Tim. Our core function is crime prevention, traffic management, and bylaw enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
That includes even licensing.
Okay. But my impression, as would be typical of so many residents in Johannesburg, is that, well, when you talk JMPD, you're talking, traffic violations and nothing more than that. Why do you think that is the case? I never thought that you could go to the JMPD to report a crime, for instance.
Yes, remember that Metro Police, in fact, Johannesburg Metro Police was launched in 2001. Previously, it was only traffic department.
Yes, yes.
So then we started to deal with issues of crime prevention, bylaw enforcement, in addition to traffic management.
So, in recent times, I noticed that the JMPD are very much active, especially in the inner city when it comes to so-called hijacked buildings. What is the situation? How many buildings are you investigating, and have you been able to recover back to the city?
We've got plus minus 500 buildings.
There are hijacked buildings?
There are hijacked buildings, yeah, and there are abandoned buildings. And our aim is ourselves, that is Johannesburg Metro Police with other departments, city department, including SAPS. We have started on an operation to reclaim this building. So we've got an operation that runs nearly every day to reclaim our buildings. They are hijacked. The problem that we are facing is that we get difficulty in identifying or find the owner of the building. The person that you find in those buildings is just a caretaker who claims not even to know who the owner is. Yeah. So that's our problem that we are having.
But how do you identify the hijacked buildings?
We identify the hijacked buildings because some of them, they are reported to us. Some of them is through the city investigation by General Sibia. So we are able to identify them. And besides, you can find out that at revenue, they are owing millions because the hijacked buildings are owned by the syndicate who are being paid the money by the residents of that building, but the money doesn't come to the city. And thirdly, the electricity is bypassed, and you find that it's an illegal connection. They don't pay a cent. So these buildings are owing millions to the city.
Now, where do you find most of these hijacked buildings? Are they spread throughout the city, or are they concentrated in specific areas?
You find them in the inner city, the CBD, Yeovil, Berea, and different places. Because there are 500, I've been assigned as JMPD to look at 2,000 of the buildings that are owing the city money because they are not paying a cent. So that's how we identify them. So,
I mean, when you say, will that be the biggest challenge with these hijacked buildings, that they do not pay for the services that they use? Is that the biggest problem?
The other problem is some of these buildings are derelict buildings.
Yes.
Nobody has been taking care of those buildings. So there are health problems. There are no toilets. There's no water running. It's sometimes electricity has been switched off, and it's a health hazard.
And we're talking about high-rise buildings most of the time here, right?
Yes, exactly. You'll find that some of the building, you'll find that there are some cuckoos, about 50 cuckoos at the basement.
Really? The mkuku's inside the building?
Inside the building.
Yes.
And there are no toilets. Wherever you go, you have to jump some of the most health hazard that you can find.
So the buildings that you have been able to reclaim, what happens to them?
What we have able to reclaim, they are being renovated, and they are being some of those buildings. The mayor, Executive Mayor Mashaba, has got a plan to make it to be business buildings, and some of them are being made so that the people must be able to live in a more humane building.
And be able to rent them, right?
Yes.
Now, I learned that the new emerging churches are also the culprits in this regard, that they get established all over the world. What is the extent of the church problem in the city of Joburg?
We are busy with them. Most of them, it's illegal connection. And they haven't got necessary documentation to run churches in those buildings. And some of those buildings that belongs to the so-called churches are, I'll say, they're hijacked buildings. You'll find them in Yeovil, Berea, inner city.
And how many would you say? Just give me a sense. 10, 20, or are they hundreds of such churches that are illegally operated?
There are over 200.
Over 200?
Yes.
In the inner city specifically?
In the inner city, Berea, and all those are around the city.
So what do you do? How do you handle them?
My job as a Metro Police, that's a crime that they've committed, is to arrest them.
And you have arrested some?
Yes, we do. We have arrested some. Last week we arrested, I think, about 7.
So what are the other priority areas for you as the JMPD that you are working on and you believe will make a difference to life in the city for the residents of Joburg? The
priority is the inner city, Yeovil, Berea, and Hillbrow. So those are the priority. But we are moving even towards Malvern and surrounding suburbs.
The townships, what about them? I mean, El Dorado Park, Soweto, and the drug problem that we find in the big cities of South Africa today.
It worries me because in Soweto now it's becoming a drug den, where these drug lords are now infiltrating our township. It is real bad. Last week the mayor has just opened in Tladi a drug rehabilitation clinic, and people talk there, and they've got a lot of problems. We raid them. We even arrest most of them.
And they're mainly operating from Soweto now?
Yes, they're operating from Soweto. In the inner city, yes, they are there, but in Soweto, they're operating in Soweto. But to make matters worse, these are not the local people who are operating drugs. No, they are not the local people. We have never arrested anyone.
Who are the main drug dealers then, according to you? Well, I mean, you have the info. I don't have. I can only speculate.
There are people who are not from South Africa who are not.
No, because you see, I know that the problem is that you might be regarded as being xenophobic if you say this is the case, but you are speaking from first-hand experience, right?
Yes, the majority of them are from Nigeria.
Okay. Now, the residents, what can they do to assist you in your work?
We, as the police, we won't succeed except the community, because these are operating within the community.
Yes.
So I will say that the community must tell us, must inform us, who are those people who are peddling drugs. Unfortunately, some of our people in the community rely on their livelihood by being paid by these drug dealers.
And therefore they're not going to tell on them?
No, it's difficult for them to tell, because you won't be able to get that money that makes him to what they are.
Tell me now, just as we conclude, I mean, I notice you are on Twitter and at Ask the Chief JMPD. What sort of things should people engage you on when they go to Ask the JMPD Chief? Ask the Chief, I beg your pardon. Ask the Chief JMPD.
When I started in January, and what I've been trained as a law enforcement officer is that we think for the community. We don't have to think for the community. We have to go to the community and ask them what is there that makes them not to sleep at night. So hence, a Twitter is more friendly than any other way of communication.
Yeah.
Besides, by the time things happen there and there, then they can tweet and say that this is happening right now. And then we are able to respond. Right now, I know where the hotspots are. It's not my management and myself or anybody else who told me, but it's the community.
Yes.
So deal with those things that the community wants. But I don't have to think for them and say that I'll bring you, I'll have a roadblock with you. But you'll find that the roadblock is not working there.
Yes, yes.
You have to put a cop on the dot.
Yes. So, and that's the point of Ask
Yes.
the Chief JMPD.
Yes.
And it has been working well so far?
It works very well. Because right now, you take for an example in Soweto, there are places where people tweet. You can inbox you and say that in such a house, they are dealing with drugs. And then we go there. We get a warrant, we go and search, and we arrest people. And JMPD has got nicotine dogs. So they do the job. Ourselves and subs, I think we are doing a great job. It's just that we don't report about this.
Yes.
I don't know of our successes.
Yeah, well, I can see, I do check the Ask the Chief JMPD, and I see there's a lot of interaction there. And I'd like more people to use it. Obviously, it helps you in your work, and they also get an early response from JMPD to deal with whatever criminality that might be taking place in their neighborhoods. Mr. David Tembe, I wish you everything of the best, and thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks a lot.
And that was David Tembe, the chief of the Joburg Metro Police Department, and he was explaining to us how they go about their work. They've started a project called Operation Buyamteto, and of course you can get in touch with him at Ask the Chief JMPD and report whatever criminal activities you may see in your neighborhood. From us, good night to you.